Hello, this is Becca from Willow Hill Designs. Welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be working on a project following along with k3n, Catherine, and from k3n Cloth Tales, and she is doing a weekly stitch along for the whole year, and I think she's on week 10, and I was inspired to join in. This sounds like fun. So I decided to go ahead and get my pages ready. I don't have a book set up, but I thought I would get my leaves or my signatures at least kind of fleshed out. And so what I did was I went ahead and tore. I had some white fabric and I tore this fabric to make the leaves. And I have to say this fabric was, I've never worked with fabric that didn't tear straight, and this fabric did not tear straight, and you can see it here. Even if I recut it over here, it would still tear in that direction. And I don't know if it was maybe because it was on the loom differently, but I mean, I just don't know. I've never had fabric do that, but I thought that's okay, it'll be interesting. And so I cut out the pages that I thought I needed, and what I did was I blocked them on my wool mat. I just sprayed them with some water and blocked them on my wool mat, and for the most part, they straightened out. As you can see, this one is heading that way, just the way it is, but I thought it would add some interest if some pages kind of, oh, and this one is doing the same thing, veering off that way. But I did spray them with water and I blocked them a bit, so they're much straighter than they were when I tore them. So I think I have my leaves all set for the signatures, and I also tore some extra fabric for the pieces, the little pieces that we work on to be stitched on. And this is just, I just tore a couple. This is a sort of a creamy beige with some white flowers on it. And I thought that was pretty, and it can also be used on the wrong side as well. And that's what I did for this prompt. This is the one that I'm working on right now. And the fabrics that I chose for this are these fabrics here. I chose this one, which I love, and this one, and this. And what I did was I just freehand cut, just took my scissors and freehand cut what I thought was a good feather shape. And from there, I was able to place it on my fabric. So depending on what image I wanted to choose, I would just place this little template with the negative space, the space cut out where the feather was, on the image that I wanted. And if I wanted the feather to bend to the right, I would do it this way. If I wanted it to bend to the left, I would turn it over and trace it on that way. And I used a friction pen to trace these onto the fabric. I mean, I could have also used the cutout as well. But I found that I wanted, being that I wasn't using a solid fabric, I wanted to know where I was placing the design so that I could get the motif that I wanted. And so that's what I did on that one. And this fabric also, which this fabric is very holy. I've used it quite a bit in applique, but again, the same thing. If I wanted to capture a certain design, I would just put this template on there, and I could turn it depending on the way that I wanted the feather to go. And this fabric, which is actually maps, I thought this was interesting because it has some kind of red portions on it with the orange, which I thought were interesting. And I could again take my template and put it and maybe place that along the side, that orange, or maybe even along the top of a feather. I could choose where I'd like it to fall. And again, which direction I would like it to fall. So these are the fabrics that I used. I love this fabric. Excuse me. And sorry, my allergies are bothering me. It's a rainy day here. So these are the feathers that I cut out. This is what I worked on. And again, this is the right side of the fabric, and I used the wrong side. I just wanted it to be a little paler. And, excuse me, I do have clover applique pins. Sorry. I have clover applique pins, but I didn't want the thread to be getting caught on them. So I just glued these down with just a dab of glue stick, the tiniest amount of a fabric glue stick. And that made it a lot easier to stitch without dodging pins. And so the stitch that I'm using, if you can see on here, because this is raw edge applique and they kind of have a tendency to fray, I thought I wanted to kind of encase the edge, but I thought a blanket stitch would be a bit too heavy. So the stitch that I'm using is coming up from the back, and then I would just take a stitch right underneath where that thread comes up, about 1/16 of an inch down, and then come up along the outer edge of the feather about 1/16 of an inch over, and just take that stitch. And what it does is it makes a nice little straight stitch on the edge. And again, I would come under the stitch where this thread where it came out, go down about 1/16 of an inch and come over about 1/16 of an inch and take another stitch. And this is a very relaxing stitch, very easy, and it is enclosing the edge, which is nice. Excuse me, giving that edge a little bit of security so that it doesn't kind of fray away. I think as a quilter, I definitely worried about frayed edges, but I know in slow stitching we don't really. So I like this little stitch. It's kind of like a little beaded edge, and I think it looks pretty, and it's very easy to do. So I will be doing that around all the edges of all of these feathers. I almost did bird feathers, regular feathers, and then I decided that I would do these because I love feathers on quilting when they're stitched with free motion quilting, so I decided to do this shape. Pardon me. And I thought I would just quickly share that I've chosen some threads. I'm not sure which I'll use, some yarns to use for the spine coming down this spine. This thread is a chunky yarn. It's very pretty and has similar colors to what are in these fabrics. And I may stitch this down, couch this down. I'd probably come up from the back and then lay the thread down and then go down to the back again with this thread and couch it down. That is one of the choices. This was another one. This is a 4-ply knitting worsted weight yarn. This is kind of a duck egg blue or a light aqua. I thought this was very pretty as well. So that might be one of my choices. And also this is a green chenille. It's similar to the greens in the feathers. And again, I would come up from the back and couch over this. So I don't know, I may use that thread on there. But I do have these 3 choices that I like so far. And so I think it will be nice to kind of cover where these join. And I'm not quite sure what I'll do in the centers of these little feather shapes. I haven't decided yet, but I will come back when I am done with the edge stitching and then the design on the thing and when it is stitched to my page. So it'll probably be a second for you, and it'll be a little bit longer than that, probably this week for me to finish this up. So I will be back in a little bit. Well, I'm back with my finished feathers prompt for the week 10. And I'll just show you what I've done here. Give you a little close-up of it. Sorry, I seem to always want to go off camera for some reason, out of the shot. But I continued stitching around each of the feathers, and I used this 12 weight pearl cotton, and that's a DMC brand. And what I did on there was I just did a running stitch down each of the feathers, down the center of each of the feathers. And because this fabric was kind of a little bit busy, I thought I won't do too much stitching on them. So after I did the running stitch, I just wove a thread through the running stitches on each one of them. This one kind of a willowy green color, this one kind of a rosy pink color, and this one the ivory. And so after I wove through, I don't know if you can see it maybe here on the pink, where I wove through those running stitches, I came back and did some French knots. And these French knots have 3 wraps on them. This little one I did 2 wraps because it's a smaller feather. And I just thought that that kind of added enough to these little feathers here. And then after that, I had chosen the duck egg blue colored wool yarn. Came up from the back and then laid this down and then went down here to the back again, and I just folded that thread back and stitched over it so it would be caught down. And I couched this down with this pearl cotton. This is a DMC, and this is color 927. To me, it's kind of a duck egg blue. I love that color. And so I used that to couch down this yarn. Excuse me. And then I did a stem stitch here out of that same, those were the only 2 colors. Oh no, that's wrong. Correction. I was going to say the ivory and the blue were the only 2 colors I used, but I did use this willowy green and this rosy pink. I didn't bring those threads here. So I just did some branches that came arching out of this center stem, and then put a French knot, kind of a messy French, well, I guess it's not all that messy, French knot at the end of those branches. And so I thought that that was enough on here. And my pages are fabric because I'm more comfortable working with fabric. So I stitched the little piece onto the page as Catherine does, and I left the bottom so that it could be lifted up like this. And then underneath I just wrote feathers. Feathered friends are always welcome. Love the birds in our yard and on the feeders. And then at the very bottom here of this fabric page, I just put my initials and the month and the year, 3/24. I didn't put the individual day because when I look back, I don't really think I will, it won't matter so much to me what the day was, as long as I know the month and the year that this little piece was done. So this is done, and that's the back of my little page here, my signature page. And I'm thinking that I may put another one, I may do them back to back, I'm not sure. the next one I'll probably do here, and then as I get halfway through, I may come back rather than make it so very thick, because I think I have 52 pages here with this with all the signatures. So that is week 10. Excuse me, and that was just so much fun. I enjoyed it because it was just very simple stitches, just all straight stitches here, around and running through the leaves, and then the feathers, and then just weaving some stem stitch and French knots. So really just simple stitching, very relaxing. I enjoyed it a lot. And so being that I jumped in on week 10, I thought that I'm going backwards, I think, maybe to see if I catch up a little bit. I'm not sure if I will. But so week 9 was 9 patches. And I was thinking that I would do something like this. I have these little half square triangles left over from some blocks that I'm making. These are, I think these finish at 3/4 of an inch, but I think that these are cut from the flying geese that are made on here. And I could trim these smaller. Right now they're 1.25 inches. They're not, that's the unfinished size. So if I sewed them together, that'll take a 1/4 of an inch off, which I think I probably will sew them together. But I could also trim them down smaller. And so I think that's what I will do for the 9 patch. And I couldn't for the life of me come up with a little poem or a little saying that read the same this way and then this way. I couldn't do it. So I think k3n's is very clever. But so that's it. That I'm done for week 10, and I thought I would share it. So thank you for joining me, and I'm wishing you many blessings, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.